BPPV. What is BPPV? First, the word BPPV means benign proximal peripheral nystagmus. So what is benign proximal peripheral nystagmus? The word benign means it is not a life-threatening condition and there is no single identifiable cause we can find for BPPV. The word is single identifiable cause. So we can call BPPV a syndrome also. Okay, so now next word is paroxysmal. Paroxysmal means there is a sudden recurrence of symptoms. And what are paroxysmal? Sudden recurrence, but there should be a period of normalcy in between. It appears suddenly, then disappears suddenly, and after that period of normalcy, complete normal, then reoccurs. This word is paroxysmal. And paroxysmal of peripheral nystagmus, which is described as brief attack of provoked vertigo with nystagmus. It is a brief attack of provoked vertigo with nystagmus. Provoked. It is provoked by change in the head position in respect to gravity. So it is provoked by change in head position in respect to gravity. So the prevalence of BPPV is 2.5% in population, and the etiology, it is usually idiopathic, but it may be associated with head trauma or vestibular neuritis cases. Now the second part, what is the pathophysiology of BPP? First, in pathophysiology, first we'll understand what is the normal function of ear. What does the normal ear has? Semicircular canal, otolith organs, among them utricle is separate. Semicircular canal, utricle and otolith. What does these organs sense? These organs sense the normal head movements. First, semicircular canal senses the angular rotation, utricle senses the torsional movements, and otolith organ commonly senses the gravitational or head tilts. In BPP, what happens? Usually, the semicircular canal, which are stimulated by angular rotation, these are stimulated abnormally by gravitational or head tilts. Okay, so there is an abnormal stimulation of semicircular canals by gravitational or head tilts, and this is done by two mechanisms. So first, following any head trauma or other etiologies, how come a pathological semicircular canal is formed? First, there is a detachment of otoconia from the otolith organs. Then these otoconia are sequestrated into the semicircular canal, and in semicircular canal, these otoconia can be staying in two type of position. First is it can remain freely and freely moving in duct of semicircular canal, or it can get attached to the otoconias, get attached to the cupula of semicircular canal. First, where it remains freely in the moving duct canal, it can be called as canalolith, or this process is called canalolithiasis. Second, it is called, when it is attached to the cupula, it is called cupulolithiasis. This hypothesis was given by Schucknett. Schucknett hypothesis says that the otoconia attaches to the cupula, cupulolithiasis. Now what happens? Now this abnormal semicircular canal, which contains the otoconia, this responds to the sensation which is not normal to semicircular canal, like gravitational or head tilt. So this abnormal sensation of gravitational head tilts sensed by the semicircular canal results in the symptoms. Which are these two symptoms? Vertigo, which is a spinning sensation of the head, and second is nystagmus. Now we will talk about the symptoms. First, vertigo. Vertigo will be the peripheral vertigo, and how to say it is peripheral vertigo? It should be sudden in onset. There will be spinning sensation which will be provoked by head tilt or positional change of the head. It can last for short duration or the longer duration. To say it peripheral, short duration it can be less than hours, or long duration can be days. Short duration will be seen in BPPV, long duration might be seen in peripheral cause like Meniere's crisis. And these peripheral vertigo can be associated with other symptoms like oral fullness, tinnitus, and episodic hearing loss, which is low tone hearing loss. These accumulation of symptoms with vertigo will be diagnosed as Meniere syndrome. If vertigo is presented with tinnitus and SNHL, it can be called as vestibular schwannoma diagnosis. And if this vertigo is presented with the oral aura, it can be called as migrainous vertigo. Now, these vertigo, this is vertigo. Next, signs. What are the signs present in the BPV or peripheral symptoms? Nystagmus. Nystagmus, how to say it is peripheral nystagmus? They, if the nystagmus is horizontal or torsional in plane and low and high amplitude, jerky या rectilinear waveform which enhances with the gaze fixation, or it can be suppressed with the gaze fixation. This is considered as peripheral nystagmus. The peripheral nystagmus which enhances with the gaze fixation, it can occur in acute cases. Suppresses with the gaze fixation can occur in the chronic cases. Now the latency. What are the latency of this nystagmus? Latency, this peripheral nystagmus, there will be latency of 3 to 40 seconds. It will be appear after the head movement. It will take 3 to 40 seconds. Duration, it will be lasting for less than 1 minute, and there will be habituation and the fatigability. So these peripheral nystagmus are fatigable. The amplitude will be decreasing, and there is a habituation present because the reproducibility is variable. So if it get habituated, then it will not be reproduced again at that moment. And before this, we will consider what are the urgent imaging criteria of brain imaging, or we can say what are the red flag signs of acute onset of vertigo. If acute onset of vertigo is presented with either unilateral acute deafness or tinnitus, or with acute occipital headache and acute CNS signs and symptoms and negative head impulse test, these are the some red flag signs of doing brain imaging urgently in the patient. What are the other signs? Abnormal VOR and normal pursuit and saccades. These are the eye movements other than the nystagmus. If we check for VOR can be checked by caloric test and the head thrust test, and pursuit movement and saccades if are checked. These are the central in origin, so these will be normal. Pursuit and saccade will be normal. VOR is a peripheral origin, so it will be affected in peripheral nystagmus. Now, how to diagnose it? Nystagmus. So to diagnose the nystagmus, we say what is the direction of nystagmus before it. Direction of nystagmus depends on two things, which is the semicircular canal involved and whether it is canalolithiasis or cupulolithiasis, right? So semicircular canal, most common involved is the peripheral semicircular canal, posterior semicircular canal, and least common is superior semicircular canal. Now again, canalolithiasis is more common than the cupulolithiasis. If this is a semicircular canal and this is otoconia in the one end and this is otoconia at the ampullary end, so if there is a gravity movements, this otoconia will be moving downwards towards the gravity towards the ampulla, so it is called ampulopetal. The otoconia and cupula will be moving downwards away from the ampulla. It will be called the ampulofugal flow. So on single movement of head towards the gravity, it can produce a different sensation and same semicircular canal, which can result in either activation or either inactivation of the